Kyle Hayes, driver, the S35 TM Special for TKO Racing, and this is Chasin Tails.
Well, welcome to episode. What are we on? 6, 7? I got it wrong last week, so
I think it's 7 this week.
Oh, we're actually on 7. That was wrong last week. So we just returned from Edgewood, Maryland. First APBA race for us on the East Coast this year. A lot of people had their boats out for the first time, brand new boats. Obviously, you guys had yours. Had a couple others in 2.5 stock that have not driven. Had Hondas out there. Lots of exciting stuff going into this season. But let's go ahead and start with you guys. What'd you feeling of a brand new boat? How much different is it from the last one? I'm sure everybody's excited to hear.
Yeah, it feels a lot different. I'm still, I think after only 2 times out in the boat, I'm still trying to figure out what's just foreign about boat racing to me still, and then what's foreign about the boat compared to last year's boat. Definitely control over the attitude in terms of like the boat's flying, the boat's kind of down in the water. I was definitely a little overdoing it on the wing, trying to just keep the boat in one piece this weekend, but definitely can already tell there's more control over that this year. The way we had the boat set up last year, it was kind of just get on the straight and wait for it to get light because it was going to happen eventually. This boat, you can definitely keep the thing on the water if you want to. But it has no problem packing air under it if you want to get air under it. I found that one out pretty quick.
Yeah. Now, we talked about it on previous episodes. How hard was it for you, the couple heats you had in it, getting used to a foot pedal wing? Did it come natural after some hydrosim experience, or what's your feelings on that?
I definitely think it came pretty naturally. Definitely from the hydrosim, and I did get the quick chance in Caesars Creek to drive a 350 with a wing pedal, but it was a little bit weird. I know we talked, there's a lot of tension on the pedal, so I think once we get that figured out and make it a little easier to push so we can actually go downwing. I think the first heat that I went out, I wasn't actually using downwing. I think I was only going to neutral ever. But hey, it works, so I like it, I think.
Good.
Yeah, I same thing with the wing with Austin. I didn't get to drive anything until this weekend with the wing pedal, but I was surprised at how, I don't want to say natural, but how it didn't really. I expected to forget to use the pedal, to be honest. I figured I would sit there and like hit a phantom actuator button or something. I think just with wanting to keep the boat in one piece and not do anything stupid really at the front of my mind, it kept my brain attentive to the pedal, and like I said, I was overdoing it. I definitely had the the wing buried in the boat down a little bit, but I'd rather do that than blow the thing over.
For sure. I like not having to fix it this week before we head off to Cambridge. Right. We can just work on making it faster instead of fixing it.
yeah, we don't need to undo any of the work you guys have been doing.
For sure.
Definitely.
So you guys had a competitor out there, your old boat, Woody plus Scott. I mean, first off, what do you guys think of how it looked rolling into the pit area?
I like it. Yeah, it's a cool paint job, man.
And the work he did this winter, I mean, it's not often you sell something and someone just goes out there and just makes it better, like cleans it all up. A lot of people, I mean, look at all the boats that go to New Zealand and other places. They just keep the same paint job, same name. They don't do anything. So it was really cool to see him like actually put a bunch of effort into it this winter. And I think he did pretty well.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It was really cool seeing him out there. I mean, he was really throughout the whole winter super excited to get out there, and then I know he had the slight issue, or the same exact issue as we did in testing with our throttle getting stuck. But I know in that final he found some speed there, and I asked him about it, and he's like, "Yeah, Tommy said go, so I went." And I was like, "You did. You stayed with me the whole race. I couldn't get rid of you."
Yep, same thing like that wing. Obviously, as a rookie, you never worked a wing before, but first heat out, it was a billboard and just flapping in the wind. And then the last heat, you could definitely see he was getting it to neutral and using some upwing through the corners, just getting that seat time. There's no thing there that you can practice. Like we said, we get some test time. That's about it. He had 2 laps in testing and said, go out there and race with the guys now.
Yep. It's I'd say, like, going back to last year with that, it's one of those things that I tell people at work, tell friends, that everybody's just like stunned that we don't get to practice, that you don't get to go out. And it's not, I mean, you can test, and if you really wanted to, you could find a way to do it even on your own, but financially it's kind of a challenge. And then location wise, you have to have a lake that either is not populated with people or with people that are going to let you go and do it. And, we live on a lake, but there ain't no way we're getting our boat out on that lake when we don't have a crane and that boat ramp ain't going to work. And there's just too many people. Like it would not be safe to do that out here. So I kind of like the trial by fire. I was worried about it going into Edgewood last year, but I think was something, as adrenaline packed and as, I guess you could say dangerous as this is, like sometimes the best way to get over that, that knot in your stomach is just to go out and get forced to do it. Racing at Valleyfield last year, I was still pretty darn new. It was like my third, fourth race ever. And, it's tight there. There's not a lot of room and, the boats are competitive. So I think that helped me kind of get over a hump a little bit and get comfortable just kind of being forced. It was either like, you're going to do it or you're going to back out and just run behind everybody.
Yeah. Running in a tunnel for 3 laps.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
Yeah. It's sometimes it can be better to just do that and kind of get thrown through the ringer a little bit than continually easing into it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out there by yourself, I mean, besides the feeling of the boat, what are you learning? And a lot of times testing, you don't want to fly the boat, so are you really learning that? I mean, if you go out there and change propellers, you obviously know what your changes are doing, but to get better as a driver, definitely I feel like the competition is where you got to be. You got to trust the guys around you, and this what I feel is great about our sport. I mean, obviously being parked next to Woody, and even Mason got his chance in a T-boat this weekend. Just everyone helps everyone, gives pointers. And Woody said something to me. He said that Tommy told him all these things and he had all these things in his mind, but he never really knew what they meant until he actually felt them, like getting light, the fin unhooking, like, okay, now I know what they meant. Now I can put that in the place next time I go out there. So that was pretty cool to hear.
And I even like, because I like going into racing, I've been watching it for a long time. Like I know what those things mean, but it's hard. And it's helpful once you actually get to put a feel to, a phenomenon, whatever you want to call it, unhooking the fin. Like you can kind of assume what it feels like, but for me, it feels different than I thought it was going to feel like. The boat getting light, say it pretty much felt like I expected it to feel, but it's one of those things that you don't really know what you're getting until you actually go through it. So to your point, you kind of just got to go out there and do it. And it's one of those things. One of our mottos at my work is fail fast. Now, different levels of failing in boat racing, but kind of the same concept. Go out there and make a mistake early versus easing into the mistakes, because the faster you make them, the earlier you can learn from them, and the faster you can get better.
100%. Yeah, and as I touched on, obviously our crew member and good friend Mason McClure got to drive a T-boat for the first time. Unfortunately, Bennett Armstrong had to go home, so there was an open seat in the T5, and he was excited, so excited that he missed the start by 45 seconds. All that BS shit talking he did. And then where's Mason? He's not there. But he said, I mean, obviously he rode with me in the skiff. We submarined it and did all these things. He's had that feeling, but moving to a hydro, he's like going to the corner, and I was expecting it to slide, and it's just a hydro, hooks up on the fin and goes around. I'm like, yeah, maybe we didn't tell you.
Yeah, I will say, like, even with my little T-boat experience that I had before hopping in the skiff with Billy and then driving the 2.5, going from skiff to hydro is weird.
Yeah.
It's not. I think maybe hydro to skiff would be a more normal feeling, but no, something going like this into a turn versus just
just hooking up. Yeah, your head's going a different direction.
Oh, very much so. That's fun though. Either way.
Yeah. Who's next? The H242 went testing. Didn't get any information on that, but we know Bobby King. I was glad he posted pictures of the work he did. I mean, that's always cool for fans to see. Looks like he did some different air trap extensions, trying to get different air under the boat. There's one part that I don't even know what it was. It looks like a sponson tip, but who knows?
Yeah.
So it'll be cool to see.
We know that boat's going to be fast. I mean, that I'd say just in terms of boat ride, and I mean, obviously speed, that boat's like just one of the most consistent performing in the whole fleet.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it doesn't matter what the course is. That thing just gets hooked up on the fin and rides it like it's connected to a rope all the way around the corner. And it's like, it's just on rails glued to the water all the time. Like not getting air under it. It definitely is, but it just doesn't seem to get out of shape like some of the other 350s. And some of that's Bobby. Bobby's actually obviously a really good driver, and yeah, I don't know. I think that one's gonna be a tough one to beat this year. I mean, that 350 class is competitive, but it's definitely I'd say the hunted in that class.
Yeah, I mean, even at Edgewood there, just you had 4 of the fastest, right? The 2, the 300, 52, and the 773. And we just posted that video on Chasin Tails of the 3 of them coming around the second turn on lap 1, and boom, Barber pops out of the middle. It's like that's what the 350 class is all about, that competition level, and it's going to be exciting in Cambridge.
Yeah, I can't wait. The 350 class is just always so fun to watch. Maybe might be the wrong reason to enjoy it, but I've always told people that don't understand racing or haven't been to many, like, if you want to see an accident, 350 is probably the class to keep an eye out for. The numbers don't lie, but for the most part, everybody stays safe, and nobody seems to ever get super injured in that class, and it's just so fun to watch. The size and the speed of those boats, the kind of that combination is really, really entertaining.
And it's pretty cool, like with that big and as competitive as class it is, all the guys still seem pretty tight-knit and really friendly with each other. You don't see them going after each other on the docks or anything like that. And
yeah, that is impressive. It wasn't that way when I drove back in the day. Trust me, we went after each other.
I've definitely seen it, but that that goes down in every class at the end of the day. Everybody's loaded with adrenaline. Still goes back to my point. If we had prox chat and boat racing, it'd be way easier to just settle these things before we get back to the dock.
Exactly.
I wish we would have had prox chat this weekend, because the heat that I was driving Chris Oliver's boat, shout out to him for letting Austin and I drive the boat. I think that was Austin's first heat in the boat, so I think he was still taking it slow. And we went around the second turn. I was in my mirror and I'm like, come on, Austin, get up here. Get up here. I wish I would have been able to just say it to him, but you could see,
like, I'm gonna leave your room, stuff it in here.
Yeah, exactly. I felt bad for Woody, but Woody kind of said he was just gonna run on the outside and take it.
He still had to with his rookie heats, but
I should have just buried you on the pin and see how you react.
I hope you saw me when you broke down in her boat and I was coming back in. I tried to come out real close to you.
Oh no, I saw.
We'll give you a little hip check with some spray.
But I wasn't worried about that. What I was worried about is Woody being on your hip and not being able to see how close you got.
Yeah.
I tried to get in front of him a good bit before I came
when he first peeked around your rooster tail, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's ain't cool. I don't know if I can jump that high.
No, I wish we would have been able to finish that heat, but that thing, like I told Chris, started making a sound like you're sticking a pencil in a fan.
Oh man!
And I think they thought that sort of description was funny, but I'm not the most mechanically gifted here. I'm still learning. To be fair, I believe Chris even said when we fired it up back at the dock that it did sound like that.
Yeah.
Once I heard that, and the thing didn't seem to want to go, it's not my boat, not my money. I'm gonna shut it down.
Sorry, Carolyn.
Smart move. Yeah. Well, maybe she should stop, being at school and stuff and actually show up at boat races.
Like it's the boat's name, other people's money.
Exactly. Most perfect name in boat racing.
I will say, we got to figure out what about that capsule lets all the air in, because I have never had so much like air hitting me during.
Man, if you're hotter in the cockpit, you want to get the race done faster. So
that's true.
You don't want to be enjoying it.
Drilled out holes in the
on the side of the glass.
That lets a ton in the side of the windows.
I also totally didn't notice, but on the inside of the lid, like right here and here, there were these little kind of clips that are meant to go inside the capsule. I just pulled the lid down, and there was like a 2-inch gap on it.
It was like half-ass open cockpit.
I did notice that, but also the strings were kind of loose. So the first turn I went into, it just came open. It was like flopping. I'm driving with one hand, trying to like twist it and pull it down and close it.
I've had to do that with the GP when the upper lid comes open, and I'm just sitting there like holding it open, rodeoing the thing. Man, now I don't know if I got enough arm strength to drive one of these for 4 laps one-handed.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It's tough, man. What else we got? We got the Grant Lady Coates boat, the 97 Send It. It's kind of like a reworked look from last year. I think it's taken a little bit of the Kiwi inspiration, kind of on that that design back by the cowling. And then obviously I'd say one of the coveted things about moving from the S to the F class is you get to actually throw your own number on there now.
Yep.
So
yeah, that's
looks
pretty
good.
cool. Yeah,
Changed up
change
their
scoops.
scoop.
I like
Yep.
that. I like that. I love clean designs on aerodynamics and stuff. I mean, maybe a little different on top scoop, but I think it looks real good. And especially when you have all these Hendersons out there, you got to differentiate yourself. You can't have all the same stuff. Two red
Yep.
boats would look the same. So it's really cool what Scott did. I know he's been hard at work trying to find speed this winter. So again, Cambridge, it's either put up or shut up. We'll see how he does in the F class. And I think they're going to do all right. It's fast boat, fast motors, fast driver. But it's like, I forget who was on the show, Eddie, and he said it's a learning experience.
Yeah. You gotta. Just watching some of the GoPro and the cockpit footage just from that class, like you can see not that the boats are any faster, although a couple of them definitely are or anything, but just the racing gets tighter.
Yeah, you're not leaving 10 inches, you're leaving 2. And if your nose ain't there, you're done.
Yeah. I think that was, and I think Eddie would say this himself. That was one of his biggest things the first year is, like you said, he's been working on his starts, and in that class, if you're late in your start, you are probably not getting through the first turn.
100%.
Because people are kind of sitting there chomping at the bit to come into that lane, and they don't wait till they have like a rooster tail and a half of clearance. It's like rooster tail over.
Yep. And that's the thing. I mean, with all the Formula 2500s, almost all of them are fast. So when you're coming up for a start and into the first turn, everyone's pretty much got the same straightaway speed.
Mm-hmm.
Where everyone makes changes is their corner speed and their acceleration and all that. But once you hit that start and you're rolling at 85, 90 mile an hour, you're all going to roll down to the first turn at the same speed. So if you're not there, you're wet for sure.
Yeah. That was like I said on a couple episodes ago, those guys, that class, 350 class as well, it seems pretty consistently there's 4 to 6 boats going into the first turn pretty much in a line. Not the 2.5 class, we had good starts last year as well, but there's the consistency
just less
on hitting the marks is just a little less.
Yeah.
So that's why you got the 2 classes though. It's a good way to learn with other drivers that are kind of in a similar level of experience, and then as drivers gain that experience and improve, they go up to the big dogs.
Yeah, be exciting for sure.
Yeah, and I know I talked to Grant on Discord and asked him how testing went, and they said they did get faster since last year. I didn't want to ask and get any specific numbers because I know boat racers don't share that stuff, but that's definitely it's a good sign. Grant was by no means slow last year. He was was definitely fastest or second fastest maybe at the end of the year in the S class. To Matisse, and obviously we know the Hondas are moving, so to be competing with either of the Hondas is going to be a good sign for speed. And for a 15-year-old, he's got a absurd amount of driving experience.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
It's a good recipe, and we'll see how he does once he gets up there.
Yeah, definitely.
And then last one we got is the S102. It was the one driven by Marco Comp last year. Got a reworked paint job kind of along the lines of the French color scheme. I mean, he's going to be driving that one. I believe he got to test that again recently up at the bridge. I know he did some testing last year, so no racing experience necessarily, but it's still nice to get out in the boat. I tested that. I'm sure as even though he didn't get to finish it with the throttle getting stuck, Woody, just that first time going down the straightaway in that boat, like you can just put a lot of your nerves at ease, just knowing what it feels like. And that's kind of half the battle getting in the boat is putting a feeling to what you see in the boat.
Right, exactly. Being excited to go and actually getting to go. But it's going to be cool to see him run. He's doing an incredible job on social media with all his posts and videos and that little series they do talking about the races. It's really cool. I mean, that's what this sport needs, and it's what we're trying to do, obviously. So it's cool to see other people getting involved and promoting their stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think some people might discount that boat's speed. I mean, I watched it run a couple times last year, and it, even though it's an older hull, that thing's competing. It wasn't like getting blown out in the F class. It didn't finish last every heat. I mean, I watched him beat Owen Henderson and Akansi and Hornwall. Like Owen's boat's fast, and so I think that especially as he gets more comfortable as a driver, learns a little bit more. Like that boat's going to be there in the mix for sure.
100%.
I think that whole class is going to be competitive. I mean, this weekend, Jacob and all, I mean, that boat's wicked fast.
Yeah, it's moving.
Yeah, I mean, I hit that start. It wasn't great, but I hit that start decent and moving pretty good. And the last I had looked in my mirror, he was a good 4 or 5 boat lengths behind me. And when I went to look in the mirror again, I didn't even have to get to the mirror because he was passing me very fast.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, there he is.
Yeah,
so,
I think that just upped the element of speed in the 2.5 class for sure.
Exactly.
Obviously, him, Matisse, and any other Hondas that are running,
Yep.
they're going to be fast. That's the future of this class. So we're going to have to hang on and have our boat set up absolutely perfect to keep up with them. And we'll do our best. And I'm sure everyone else running the Fords will be right there too, chomping at the bit. You never know when electronics are going to go bad, so you got to push them to their limits.
Yep. And the big focus for me, and I'm sure Austin this year, is just be better at our starts. And if you hit a really good start, kind of have a few boat lengths on them going into that, even if they have more speed, get control of the course. You can long race to hold somebody off that's got more speed than you, but it can be done if you got to be leading them at the first turn.
Oh, for sure.
That was one thing I just kind of already knew from watching races my whole life is if you're behind at the first turn, it usually does not work out.
No.
Really, the only time is when you're
super amount of horsepower.
yeah, and you're way on the outside, because if you fall back more than a rooster tail in that first turn, usually the boats up there condense, and you're either running in 4-boat slop or you're running on the outside.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, it's going to be fun. You could see this week with some of the boats we talked about, and there's some more. A lot of people are finishing up their work, and it seems like a lot of people kind of got ready to go. Are ready to go for the season now. So it'll be fun to see everybody hit the road, make their way down to Cambridge. We already had 2 races this weekend for APBA, so let's get it going.
Yeah, they'll be there early. I mean, HRL's got that new rule. 7 p.m. you have to be in the pit area. All these HRL events, so they can get everything set up and be ready to go first thing Saturday morning, so we can get our show in quick and done and on to the party.
Right? Yeah, it's cool. When John touched on it last week, and I was chatting with Tommy Thompson down at the race this weekend, and it's cool. It sounds like Cambridge is really taking a little step forward and trying to promote that race and make it a little bit more of an event than just the boat race. And I think you guys are going to have a good time down there. It's obviously a really good race course. A lot of people like that race course. And hopefully we see more fans than we did last year. Not that there wasn't enough, like I said in previous podcasts. That was probably the most people I've seen there since the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
And even on Sunday when we basically sat there all day because of the wind, a lot of people stuck it out. So hopefully just kind of see another step up from that this year. And I'll be at home watching the live stream.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep an eye out for my comments.
Yeah, definitely excited about that. HRL having the live stream all year. So when we are stuck at home, or all the fans out there, go on YouTube, HRL Hydroplane, and they'll be posting the link on Facebook on Friday so that you can see the live stream starting at, what do we start at, 10 a.m. in HRL with time trials for Grand Prix. So wake the fans up, wake everyone up around the Chop Tank River, and get the thunder going.
Yep, absolutely. I cannot wait.
So we'd like to take a pause in our podcast to thank our sponsor, River City Printing, our official apparel sponsor. They make custom t-shirts, hats, trophies, racing shirts, anything and everything custom apparel-wise, you can get at rivercityprinting.org. Make sure to check them out either by their website or on Facebook, and let them know Chasin Tails sent you.
Absolutely. So kind of already talked about our experience down in Edgewood. For being down in the pits, talking to people, watching some of the other heats. Anything that stuck out to you guys? Whether it was a boat that seemed to be a big improvement from last year, or cool paint jobs. Anything that you want to talk about that you saw this weekend?
One boat I'd like to give a shout out is the JS23, Keith Gunther. He found some speed, man.
For sure.
I know.
Yes, he did.
I know he got that one win last year. Saturday he came out in the qualifier, was struggling a little bit, but by the time he hit that final, he had that boat moving. And I'm happy to see him finding some speed and getting up in front of the field in that class, because, man, he tries. He's at every race trying to make that boat fast. And I know Kevin Gunther gave me my first ever chance in a hydro, and his whole family is just very about the sport, with Lyle
the scorer,
always doing the registration. So see them doing good is awesome.
For
Man,
sure.
shout out to her for sticking through the logistical nightmare that using the, not that there's anything wrong with trackside, but it kind of got thrown at them, last minute, and got a lot of drivers that didn't know that they had to register that way. When she toughed it out, there was 40 people outside of her motorhome and inside her motorhome getting registered. So, I think it's definitely something that can help us moving forward. Like they were saying, once everybody's up to speed with this and pre-registered, you walk up, you show a QR code, they use their scanner, and boom, you're in. You're good to go. So, but it's always like that first race of the year. There's going to be some hiccups, and then you throw a brand new system into it. But props to her for sticking through that. I probably would have lost my mind and just been like, I'm done. You're all racing. I don't care.
For
Just
sure.
Go to your boat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was cool. I think the system's going to be very good as we go into the future. But I think a lot of it, yeah, like you said, last minute. I mean, maybe next time they use it and we're involved in board wise, maybe we could do a little podcast, quick little clips showing everyone how to do it, post it multiple times a week. Because I feel like they tried to do that, but a lot of people didn't tune into that live stream. And they definitely taught everyone how to do it, but not too many tuned in. I know we didn't because we were sitting here recording a podcast. So luckily Sandy Thompson took care of mine. Otherwise I probably would have been up there lost too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's first race. Everybody's got to get their waivers signed. Everybody's got to get their medical forms in, their capsule training. So once all that's sorted from the first race, it's quite literally as simple as pay your registration fee, put in the boat.
Your crew. Your crew can already be in there once they sign one waiver. That's the only waiver they have to sign. Yep. Like it's definitely streamlined the process as we go. I heard it's a 2-year build plan. They're going to customize it for inboard racing. So that's really cool. Awesome. That could work for them. The only thing I say about it is it says trackside app and it's not an app. That don't make sense.
Yeah. We got to get the actual application.
Yeah.
I would assume it's probably in some sort of dev stage.
I would think so.
With having the build plan, they're, kind of an unfinished product, but to some degree, that's the right way to do it versus throwing something out there and just waiting for feedback, something official. Just throw it out in a testing setting. Let, an end user, somebody that's actually going to have application for it, use it, give them the feedback, and then, kind of come out with the official thing.
100%. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, definitely, I'd say Gunther running real well. I mean, worked hard. George Sewell was out there. I think he ran second in the final on Saturday. Well, Saturday, Sunday, whenever that final happened after storms and thunderstorms, having to hold their boats in the water. I mean, talk about the unbelievableness of crazy. All these. You're in the water. I think somewhere on the course when the thunderstorm started with the lightning and all that. And
350s were still out.
Yeah, I was in my camper staying dry. So what'd they do? Put the crane down and y'all were stuck out there in the water?
Let's see. I was about this deep in water wearing your driving suit. So, I hope you got that water.
Yeah, no wonder it was wet.
I couldn't feel my hands. I was holding the cages and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm sitting in water, which is conductive. I don't know if this is a smart idea, holding metal cages.
No, definitely not.
I walked under the power lines, and Carson had just texted me, like, get inside with the boys. I was like, calm down. It's just lightning. And one cracked the power line at some point around me, and it was like, I was like, oh, I'm getting in.
Yeah, no, time to go. Yeah. Time to go.
But that did not compare to that Cambridge storm at the Triple Crown. Not one bit.
Nothing will ever compare to that, dude. That was insane.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was young, so I just helped get stuff in the motorhome and then sat inside and watched. Everybody else had to go through it.
When a porta john
I was inside with
over.
The biggest smile on my face. I was like, this is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it was very cool if you were inside.
Yeah. That's it. Another one in the skiff cast too was Sam Greenlaw got to drive this weekend. I think was this her first weekend driving?
She did something.
She qualified.
She's qualified now?
She qualified this weekend.
Awesome. So she did a good job. It was fun watching her out there. Every time they go by, Davey would be in the front seat like, go.
Yeah. Yeah. Her and Courtney had an awesome battle in that last final.
Yeah.
It was just side by side, and it was definitely exciting to see them both. See Sammy, I mean, she's doing a great job. The skiff is not not easy to learn, and she picked it up pretty fast.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Also, I just have to give shout out to Lil Billy and Big Billy for letting me ride this weekend and finally going 4 for 4.
Yeah.
On a weekend we tried to do it 2 years ago and got our final taken away from us, but we finally got it. So
yeah, I was sitting
for getting that thing running again.
Sitting on the dock right behind or next to Billy almost every heat, and he's like, God, does he not know how to save equipment? I mean, he's half a lap out front. Every lap he'd go by, I'd be like, he still didn't learn. Big Billy was getting so mad. And then y'all had to run like 7 laps one heat. That was a long heat. They just weren't putting a checker down.
Dude, 6 and a cool down.
Oh,
dude,
man.
The clock literally read like 6 minutes 21
Yeah.
seconds for the heat.
It's like that was a long
I was
one.
watching the flags on shore. They were definitely wrong, but the lightsaber was right. I wasn't taking the win away, so I'm like, you just keep going.
Keep going until you see a checker.
Yeah, no, we noticed that like right away. I think because it was while you guys and George were in the process of lapping some boats, and
they got confused.
I used when I was younger, like at Hampton and stuff, and I had no idea. I just look back and be like, "What flag am I?"
Yeah, you tell me what flag, and I'll hold it.
Yeah. Give me a color, and I'll put the flag up.
Yeah. It's also cool to see the flat bottoms, I would say. I mean, they only ran Saturday, but I mean, that Miss April SA boat has been the dominant boat for many years, always fast with Paul Fitzgerald. And to get beat by Dustin Daly was wild. I had a couple of people come up and was like, have you ever seen that boat get beat? I'm like, it doesn't happen often, that's for sure. So Dustin must have had that thing hooked up. And obviously the bloodline he has with all his dad's history, obviously he didn't fall far from the tree there.
I think so. Who drives the other one?
Paul Fitzgerald.
Paul Fitzgerald. I think you'll see. I'm excited to see them duke it out again. I would assume in Decatur. I would imagine they're going to be going.
Yeah.
I think Paul's going to want some revenge on that.
Oh, for sure. You know they're back to the drawing board. If you win that much, you're not going to take getting beat lightly.
No, absolutely
not.
It
is sounding like we actually might have a skiff class in Decatur too.
Wow.
I heard Peg talking about it, and I just got a message probably about 20 minutes ago that the 991 might be showing up there too.
Sweet. Nice. That'd be good. And I've heard there's a couple others really going. That'd be cool. I mean, like I said, anytime there's a race coming back or a brand new race, the only thing we can do as racers is get as many boats as possible. So maybe if we can sneak out the JS30, maybe Mason can take it out there, and Ron just send registration, please.
And then I've heard, I don't know specifics, what boats, but I've heard that there's definitely going to be a West Coast presence there. I'm not sure exactly in what level, but I would imagine for sure a couple of the 2.5s, and I'd probably guess that Jeff and Kip's 350s will be there.
Yeah, I would think.
Maybe some of the T boats as well, which will be fun. We talked about it with Tommy last week. Getting the West Coast and East Coast together is not something that happens a ton.
Oh, for sure.
It makes for good weekends, man. It just ups the competition.
Yeah, I haven't heard any numbers on like E350s, but again, as we talk about that being the most competitive class that we feel, Raylan goes there and Bobby King, and then you get Jeff from the West Coast, which I think is the fastest one out there. Has been for a while. I mean, that's going tune up to be a good one too. So hopefully we'll see numbers coming out. I mean, we're 2 weeks away from that one. It's Memorial Day weekend. Mm-hmm. So it's coming up fast. This is going to be a crazy 3-week stretch we just started.
Yeah, absolutely. Kicking off the season with a bang, man. That's boat racing. Knock a couple of them out real quick. Let everybody go figure out what they need to fix. Hopefully nobody causes any more damage. We already got enough damage. A couple boats catching on fire in the first weekend, but sounds like everybody's all right. And that one boat I would like to mention. I know Richard Shaw with his T-boat and Nick Wheeler and Chris Oliver and them with that T-boat have struggled over the last year or so with those engines, those Ford engines, trying to get them to run good. But they both on Saturday. I'm not sure why Nick didn't get out in the Sunday qualifier or final. Why Nick didn't get out, but in the qualifier, both Richard and Nick ran really good, at least from what I could see. So it was cool to see that. A little bit of a moment when Richard got back to the dock with the. I didn't see any flames, but there was definitely a fire going on. Yeah, there was definitely you could see it. So there's definitely a fire going on underneath that cowling, and it speaks to that family thing. I heard fire extinguisher, and I ran back and grabbed ours. And by the time I got down to the dock, there were 6 people standing there, all the fire extinguishers.
Yep.
Very quickly. Everybody's ready to help each other out, and I was in the next heat, so I was a little debating on getting in the water. And here comes Jimmy Stewart, no second guess, jumps right in with his and just swims over to Richard.
From where I saw, he just cannonballed, just freaking sent it straight. I mean, he could have went down the dock and got to the boat,
no
but he
hesitation.
just boom.
Yep. Shout out Jimmy on that one. Thanks for helping me keep my suit dry.
No doubt.
So
yeah,
but,
definitely cool to see them T-boats running. And I mean, Bobby's not here to go on his rant about Hondas, but to see two of those actually on the course again, I mean, obviously we've seen them in HRL, but they're starting to get closer and closer and more boats. I feel like even more competitive boats, obviously, with the Hearn boat being the closest one to John this week. Still has not beat John, but I know, Al and John are back there like, oh man, them pesky Hondas are getting closer and closer. We're going to have to step up. I mean, but just reliability of them. They all went out and came back. I think had a problem with the gearbox shaft, but those are simple things to fix.
Pretty sure they managed to twist that shaft.
Shoo.
Like that thing had to have been putting out
some power.
Torque.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but I'm sure they'll have that fixed for Cambridge this weekend. And like I said, then that boat's fast. I think they got a little bit of setup work to look at. And I know you mentioned the prop they ran in that in that final on Saturday really changed the attitude of the boat. It made it way more flighty. I know I could even see from about two rooster tails behind him, that wing was a billboard up front. That thing was as far forward as it could get, and it was still getting light. So, they got to figure out which prop they like. And he said in the test, the thing just didn't come off the water. It was just on rails, glued to the water. Still getting air underneath it, but you didn't have to worry about the wing much. So.
Yeah,
that's just the learning curve with those things.
That's another thing everyone's going to have to learn, obviously, with a gearbox and trying to turn the motors 8800, whatever they're trying to turn them. You're under driving the propeller, so you're still trying to get the propeller to turn 72. So it should be similar to the Fords of what we turn RPM wise, but as these guys start to play with them gears, those props might be turning 8,000 and the motor 8800. That's where the gearbox gives you those options, which now puts that prop in something you've never done with it before, and it could bend them. I think we've seen a couple props bend so far with the Hondas because you're putting them in a different torque load and RPM wise. So that's the learning curve too. That's why you can never count out a Ford because it's tried and true, and the Hondas might have a little more power, but reliability maybe might have a problem this year.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, that's something that I'm sure people will figure out as they get more time with them and more data. It was funny, I was asking Richard Hearn for the Sunday final, asking, what their feeling was with the data they were getting. And he's like, we don't like it. We still finished second.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And, that's how competitive they are. And, I know Grant's the same way. Grant wants to be winning heats. But, like you said, that other than this weekend, all they've done is go test out on a non-course on a lake in really windy conditions once. So even though it's maybe not the data they were hoping because they didn't finish first, they're smart guys over there, so they're going to keep learning, keep making that thing faster. And right now, just Fords and Hondas, everybody's just trying to catch that orange bug.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thing's fast.
That's a big old target to chase.
Yep. So I did actually get some info. I've actually got a whole scorer sheet for Chelan that was ran out on the West Coast this weekend. I was in the airport on the way back Sunday night, check out the stream a little bit. It's cool. They got a whole plan with I think it's a streaming company to do those out there. Somebody mentioned for the races they got out there this year. It's cool. They got the drones, got the announcer, they got a big screen in the pits kind of fan area for people to be able to see some of the stuff that's a little farther away. So I'll just go through kind of some of the overall weekend results, let you guys know how people did out there. In the T class, it looks like first overall for the weekend was Carson Kelly in the T8. I believe that's his first race in that boat, right?
Yep, I believe so. First time getting
a weekend a win.
Yep.
Congratulations to him. That's awesome. I know I did get to see one in the T-boat heats, and they all look like they're running good. It was cool. Got to see, unfortunately, with it being experimental, he's not technically allowed to score points, but Madden Henshaw looked like he did a good job out there for his first time. Again, I only got to see one heat, but, I would have to, talk to Jeff and see how the data looked. But, it seemed like the restrictor plate definitely limited the speed of that boat. I think they might need to limit it a little more, but
he did a big post about it, and they went down a plate each time.
Okay.
Down to their smallest plate, and it still is a little too fast. So next race they're going to make even smaller ones, and they're going to keep going until they get right where it needs to be, and I think he's still confident that it is a reliable and good solution.
It would be a cool thing to add, and that's a cool, a good situation there, because that's something that's going to require a lot of testing and a lot of just trial and error with that. And the good thing is you don't have a driver that's like, oh, I want to go win high points. You got a brand new driver that just wants to get seat time and get experience. So even sometimes he gets a little more experience than he wants to, because the boat's going a little faster than it's supposed to. Yeah. But it's a good setup they got going there, and it was cool to see Madden get out there and race this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely hats off to the Weymouths for making that decision. Obviously, they won high points in 2.5 stock and have a very fast 2.5 stock, but to make that step for the future of APPA inboard and the 1.5 stock class potentially is really cool to see them do.
Yeah, absolutely. And second for the weekend in the T-boats was Haley Scarborough in the T1. I know it sounded like pretty much everybody but Carson this weekend had a little bit of attrition in heat or another. I think the same situation with the 2.5 stock class. But I know I watched one of the heats and she won by quite a margin. Wow. Obviously, high point championship from last year. Boats fast. I got, like we were talking about in early podcasts, it seems like they got a pretty competitive class going out there, and it's all young drivers. So it's really cool to see. We had Katie Brown, who finished third for the weekend. Obviously had a little bit of an incident in the final there on Sunday with the boat catching on fire. It's a little ironic. We got a Ford T-boat engine catching on fire on both coasts.
Yeah, that's fine.
But hopefully not too much damage to that. From what I understand, she was unharmed in that situation. So hopefully they can get the repairs needed for that and keep going. I know it sounds like it's going to be a pretty fun high point battle in that class for all those young drivers, which will be cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool to see and cool to follow.
For sure.
In the Y class, from what I could tell from the sheet, we only had one Y boat, but shout out to Brad Sanchez and Dave Lemon with the Y45. I haven't been able to see that boat run. Was that in Lakeland last year?
Yeah. I believe so.
It's got a cool paint job. Yeah. I've always liked the look of that boat. So, another boat that maybe if things fall the right way, we'll see in Decatur. Maybe see a little bit of a 1 liter class there. We haven't gotten to see a lot of good 1 liter racing in recent years. So it'd be cool. It kind of seems like that class is a little. There's not as many boats, and it's like half of them are in the east and half of them are in the west, and it's like kind of these guys only race against themselves, and the west against themselves. So bringing them together might be a cool chance to see that class in a little bit more of a complete manner.
Yeah, for sure.
Than we've seen recently. On the 2.5s, and first for the weekend, we had. We don't got a name for a driver. Jason Oslaxon finished first in the S77 Fury. Kyle Davenport in the S6 took second, and J. Michael Kelly in the S12 took third.
Oh, wow. Nice. I
did get to watch one of their heats when we were waiting to get on our flight on Sunday, and it was basically a triple-decker from start to finish. And that heat, J. Mike took it at the end on the outside. But that class has been, they got a core little group of four or five guys out there that seem to be pretty close in speed, pretty close in handling, and the boats, you see a lot of a good deck-to-deck racing out there, and that's one thing I'm really excited for. I'm hoping a couple of them make their way out here for Decatur, and I think 2.5s are going to be able to put on a really good show in Decatur.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, going to have like 4 or 5 heats probably.
Yeah, that would be good to see.
That would be awesome. On to the A class. First, we had Marissa Bartles in the A11. In second, Justin Burnett in the A225. And in third, Gunnar O'Farrell in the A21. Sorry, I just have the numbers. I don't have boat names. I will try to get these moving forward. I'm not as familiar with the boats on the West Coast. In the E350 class, we had in first place the E350 with Jeff Bernard driving, who bested his teammate Kip Brown in the E20 by 10 points to finish second. And in third, we had John Rifle.
Rifle.
Is it Rifle?
Yep.
Yeah, John Rifle in the E226.
Nice.
So I also got to catch one of those heats, and it took me about all heat to figure out which boat was which, because they both got little differences in them in the JJW boats, but the paint job's almost identical. So, but those, we both know those both boats are fast. I mean, Wally Johnson's boat was always fast, and Jeff's boat that he's been racing out there for several years now has been really fast. Yeah. So, from what I understand, they actually kind of went back and forth in, who was finishing first, who was finishing second. So it looks like those guys might have a little bit of an inter-team high point battle going on by the end of the year.
Yeah, that'd be fun to watch. See who gets the best prop each time.
Yeah, right. Maybe we'll have to start doing some races back at the pits to see who gets the best prop.
Yep.
Is P would be Cracker Box, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So in the Cracker Box class, in first was the P56 Bill Strain's boat. In second was the P38 owned by Bob Nyland. And in third was the P40 Run owned by Russell Mead.
Nice.
Still not super familiar with the Cracker Box drivers and riders. Feel free once we post this to comment if you do know who drives each boat, and I'm gonna, as we go throughout the season, do more recaps. So I should be able to pick up on all the names, all the owners, all the boat names, and we'll get better as we go. Yeah, see, we don't got a letter on this one.
Is it the SEs?
It might be William Hugh, Kayla Hugh, and I'm not sure.
Or those could be.
Should have dissected
J Stocks, maybe?
Yeah, it might be J Stocks. I'm not positive. We will make sure we post. We'll kind of have a graphic for you guys when this thing gets posted that has the the results, boat numbers, boat names, drivers, owners, everything. I'll make sure we get that stuff put together for you. But overall, it was cool to see races going on both coasts. One thing I will say about Chelan is like the scenery there, the color of the water. It's so clear. Like you can literally see the shadows from the buoys on the bottom of the lake from the drone shot on the stream. So that was really cool. Like we said, T-boat classes, it seems to be pretty competitive. 2.5 class. And it's going to be a fun year out there. I know they got like eight races maybe they run out on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So, relatively long season. Maybe they'll sneak a central race in there in Decatur and bring the East and West Coast together. And we'll keep bringing you updates. Like I said, I'm not as familiar with the West Coast circuit, but we'll start. I think one of the benefits of doing the podcast here is to get to follow some stuff a little more, dig a little deeper, and learn who everybody is, all the boats, all the history. I might have to rely on our buddy, the Boat Racing Encyclopedia, and Eddie Canfouche on who all drives what and who all used to drive what, because you just name a boat and he'll tell you every driver that's ever driven it.
That's crazy.
Who knows? We might just need to look for a West Coast associate to.
Yeah, anyone that could pop on and talk to us to be excited about what just happened at the events out there. That'd be cool. Maybe we'll have to get that going here at the next West Coast race. This one kind of flew up on us. The race season is here, and we're like, whoa! Yep. All right, we better get better at this.
It seems like boat racing season is always like that. It's we always know when it starts, but everybody seems to be caught slightly off guard by the start every time. But that's how it goes. Keeps it interesting
for sure.
We got to keep it interesting.
Yeah. So, APBA inboard got their start. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast. HRL gets their start this weekend at the Cambridge Classic, one of the races in the U.S. that has the most heritage and most amount of consecutive years running. I'm excited to get there. I know there's a lot of teams. It's going to be incredible. I mean, I feel like that's our best water. We've talked about it before that we raced on in HRL. That turn 2, everyone's wound up coming for the start. Everyone's been testing up in Canada, trying to make sure they're on their game when they come down, especially that game on. I think Burr Henderson's tested like 5 times. I think he's just trying to shake the rust off. He's a little older. He's got to loosen up a little bit. There's going to be, yeah, exactly. Got to loosen everything up, man. I tell you, but look like the boat's fast. So I'm sure he's got his brothers a little worried.
Yeah. And I think Fred got to go test as well, right?
Yeah. I think he was testing like Saturday or Sunday while we were in Edgewood. Yeah, that's cool. His first step in the 350. See, again, like we talked about with the S class to 2500. That's another big step to go to 350. It's a lot faster, definitely. And they don't leave much room either. I call them the kamikazes.
Sometimes they don't leave any room half the time.
It's been like that since I started racing, and my dad drove 3.5 liters. Like, there's some Canadians that are kamikazes, and they just don't leave room. But hey, as part of racing, you know who you're racing around, and you put your nose where you want it to be, not where you don't want it to be.
Yeah, one thing it seems like you do not ever have to worry about in that class, and we've talked about it before with like Bob's rule proposal with the way the jumping the gun penalties work. Those guys don't take it easy. There is no like, they're like a rooster tail ahead. We'll back out and just, cruise with their, no,
full go.
They could be a half lap down and they are still going to try to catch that boat in front of them. And I've always appreciated it. Sometimes it gets them in a little bit of trouble. But it's there's no denying that it tit for tat, weekend for weekend is the most entertaining class to watch.
For sure. Yeah.
The GPs are awesome. The power and the noise of the GPs, but we only get to see them, a handful of times every year with the HRL circuit and the GPA. And then, with the series, but you got basically every APBA race has 350s running at it.
Yep.
So you get a lot of chances to see them, and there's a lot of fast boats, man.
Yeah, a lot of them.
I would love to see, obviously it hasn't happened for a while prior to the last time, but I think with the level of competition out there right now and how fast some of the classes and some of the boats have gotten, another Triple Crown would be freaking awesome.
That would be, yeah, to just get everyone from both coasts, both countries, and even New Zealand. Maybe we could pull off somebody from Australia. It'd be incredible. I mean, it
would be so cool.
There's so much competition. I mean, there's sometimes struggle for boat count, especially in obviously APBA, because there's a lot of people that leave their boats in garages and don't come to events. But when they say they're going to, but hey, it's how it goes. But I mean, the boats that are there are super fast. No matter what class you go to, there's boats setting records. There's boats that are winning championships. I mean, there's some fast competition. I didn't really, I don't know. I guess I got lost on HRL last year, but I don't think there was many repeat final winners.
No,
if you think about it,
especially in that 350 class. Like I know Andrew won the first weekend, and I don't think they won again. Nope. Like a final again the year. Then they won other heats. Sam obviously Michael won the final in Bahornwa. That's
about all I got too. I missed the whole inside.
I'm trying.
Bobby King might have been the only repeat winner, but it was Bobby driving once and Jimmy driving the other time in Tonawanda.
And then Sorrell didn't get to happen. Then I guess the one we're missing is Brockville. I'm sure won Brockville, but like I said, I mean at most 2 repeat winners, and I got really no doubt you're going to see about the same thing this year because we've now introduced a couple really fast 350s to that to that field.
100%.
So I'm really pumped. I'm going to be sitting at home this weekend with a big bowl of popcorn, probably a few beers and a cooler on the couch, and just gonna have the stream going all weekend.
Maybe it's nice enough you'll be out on the pontoon drinking beers, watching boat racing. That's what
I was already thinking about how I can get a TV out on that.
I think Tonawanda was my most fun not driving ever because I was in the water in Florida, just floating in a floaty with a beer in one hand and the live stream in the other, and I was like, this ain't so bad. And then Bobby won it. I was like, whoa, beer went everywhere. Everyone's looking at me like, what are you doing? I was like, man, I got a little excited.
What I'm thinking is because the GP is going to be there, they might not have to take, or actually they can't take it because they're flying, the generator. So I'm thinking about loading that thing up with gas, bringing it on a pontoon, bring one of the smaller monitors.
There you go.
And watch the stream out there. Go park that thing in Sandbar. And
you'll have a party on the boat, people watching.
That's what I'm saying. There's no way boat racing is not going to be a hit when everybody's out on their boat.
Right, exactly, 100%. You might wind up having a boat race around the island there.
Yeah, right. We got a couple of those like kind of runabout outboards, and then there's like 4 Donzies, and the Donzies, dude. You'd think they're racing because they're just all freaking day.
Gotta get the skiff out here, dude.
Yeah,
you gotta show those things up.
I don't know if we can show them up, but we'll try.
We'll take it through a turn real quick.
Yeah, right. It'll be fun. So it's going to be exciting. Unfortunately, I think GP count is going to be a little bit down, but I think the ones that are going to be there are super fast. I don't know what's going to happen, what boats are going to show up. I think we're at 6 right now, so we'll probably do 2 heats of 3, which is a little disappointing, but 30 Grand Prix still put on a good show, especially the caliber of GPs those 3 in each heat are going to be. If for some reason we bump down to 5, I would assume we'll all just race together. So every single heat will be like a final. So either way, that'd be good racing. Obviously S class, a lot of new guys, new boats, stuff like that. It's going to be exciting. And 2,500. Let's see if anyone can take Al and John off their throne. It's definitely going to be one to watch. We've been waiting for this all winter since Bahornwa. So I think can't wait to get there.
I know. Like my level of excitement's heightened. I'm going into my first. It was my first off season actually racing and being ready to get back into the boat. But just talking to other people around the pits and on Facebook and in Discord and stuff like that, like you can feel there's a heightened level of anticipation for this season amongst the drivers, the teams, the crews. I hope it's the fans and the followers feel the same way, because I think we're in line for a really good show this year, both in HRL and APBA. Obviously we've got GPA and HRL linking up for the series, which is going to be freaking awesome. I think we're on the front door of one of the better seasons that we've had in boat racing in a long time.
Yeah,
for sure. It's gonna be exciting. Every race is gonna be a new adventure, and we're going to try to bring you all the coverage we can. Obviously, you see some of the stuff we did at Edgewood, and that was our first boat race. So we didn't have as much time as we anticipated, but we're going to try to get as much content as we can, give you angles you've never seen before, and just keep on bringing stuff to you, and not just the podcast. We're media, we're everything. So be sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and we'll be all around these races.
Yeah, and let us know if there's things you want to see, things that we did that you think might not be the best. Let us know in the comments. Shoot us a direct message on Facebook. Feedback's always appreciated. We might not take everything, but this is for the followers, for the fans. So we want to hear what you guys want to see, and hopefully we can keep this getting better every week. And we're getting into boat race season now, so we actually got some boat racing to talk about. So it'll be hopefully we're gonna have more content for you. And, the script's kind of going to write itself once the season gets going.
For sure. If you make a mistake, we're there to catch it. Don't worry.
Yeah, right.
And we will
Biggest
talk
critics.
about it.
Stay away from those buoys.
Yeah, stay away from the buoys, because we will have our buoy hunter shirts. They're being designed, and you will be a proud recipient of one if you hit a buoy.
We'll see if anyone will be the first one to claim one this weekend.
Yeah, maybe we'll be watching for sure.
Dude, I got pretty close in the one heat. That boat turns way better than I was ready for it to turn as compared to last year's. I set for that turn and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I kind of didn't anticipate how much
wider
bigger the sponson is, and I'm like going through, and I kind of look out. I'm like, oh, I still anticipated a lake when my turn's holding them tight, trying to spin them.
Yeah.
The good thing is the tips of our sponsons are a little more rounded now, so they might be a little more
push it off.
A little more contact you
just
can
punt
make.
them instead of
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what the skiffs do. They send them to the moon.
We might.
Awesome.
I'll have to go back and watch the stream, but I think in the T class there might have been a buoy hit.
Oh no.
This weekend out on the West Coast. We might have to send one out. I'll go back and check the stream.
Might be our first one. Nice.
We might have our first member of the
If you're
buoy
watching
hunter
this and you
other than
know
Bob.
it's you, just be ready.
Yeah.
We don't know if
We
it was
will
you
find
yet.
We will find you.
We're gonna find you.
And you will receive a shirt once we have them.
You won't be the first because Bob is the de facto first member of the Buoy Hunter
Yeah.
Club. But
He is the reason for the Buoy Hunter Club.
yeah, he's the founder of the Buoy Hunter Club, the grandfather. Oh, so
Yeah, I think that's
before
it.
we go,
Go ahead.
Yeah, before we go this week, something we wanted to do the last couple episodes, but we would rather bring you guys content from other members of the boat racing community, is another installment, Hydro 101. With the season kicking off, I want to make sure you guys have all your information so you can watch the heats, understand what's going on. Kind of one of the big, probably I'd say other than jumping the gun, probably the more common penalty that you'll see in boat racing are various versions of lane infractions. The rules can vary depending on the circuit you're racing in. In APBA, the rule, what they consider to be overlap, which allows you to move from lane to lane and, kind of affect another driver's racing line. They use 4 boat lengths. HRL uses 1 rooster tail. There's, you can make arguments on both. For example, in the 2.5 stock class, 1 rooster tail is pretty darn close to four boat lengths. Maybe it's 5 or 5.5,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, in certain classes, it's pretty similar. There's various types. You can get lane infractions in HRL for simply being in the wrong lane coming up for the start. You can get lane infractions in APBA before the start for coming over on a boat before you have 4 boat lengths. You can get lane infractions if they got a guy 2 boat lengths behind you and you come over into their lane and force them into a buoy. Obviously, if you make a blowover, I'd say as a newer driver, that was kind of one of my main points of focus this year, was really trying to get good at holding my lane, through the turns, coming out of the turns, on the straightaway. Obviously in a straight line, you you want to be able to hold your lane. And so some of that's boat setup, but also just being comfortable, not overcorrecting the wheel. The lane infractions kind of come into play because, coming in and taking people's lanes when you do get the overlap is a way to improve your chances of a win, make them have to go the long way around. In APBA, you'll see guys willingly start on the outside so they can get a really big run down to that first turn. And, depending on how the other boats hit the start, they might be coming from lane 7 to lane 1 because they get overlap on the field. Now, there's times when they don't quite get the overlap and then they end up cutting 7 people off. But lane infraction is definitely a big part of boat racing. As you get, I'm sure, you and Bob having more experience, you kind of flirt with those boundaries a little bit more on what's your lane, what's not your lane, when you can come over, when not. But I know Austin and I, for the most part last year, I just worried about staying in my own lane. But I know this year, especially with anticipating these Hondas being pretty quick, you're going to have to put a little more gamesmanship into it. Take advantage of the rule book in certain situations and, push some people out when needed, pin them to the buoy row when you need to. And it's going to be fun. A lot of the drivers in our class, I think other than Remy this year, I think it will be all like experience, I say in quotes.
You have Woody Plescott at
Cambridge.
Yeah, that's right. So, but other than Woody and Remy, I believe everybody has raced for at least one season in that class now. So you're going to see a heightened level of competition there. And then, we've already touched on it in the 350 and the 2500s. A lane is how wide your boat is in those classes.
Yeah. Now
you don't get
now with everything being judged by a drone. I mean, it's no discrepancies. Before, you're sitting on a boat as a turn judge, looking at eye level of the rooster tails. You're kind of like, okay, that guy got cut off because he got wet. But now that could be wrong because you just see him get wet. He could have slid. He could have overturned. Now with the drones, it's your lane. And I think it helps us drivers too, sometimes seeing that drone footage and you're like, man, I thought I held him really tight. Shoot, I had another 12 inches to go. Like, so it's obviously heightened what you have to do as a driver. Now you have to be almost perfect because that drone can see everything.
Yeah, you got that like all-seeing eye up there. You don't get away with nothing anymore.
It goes back to like when you talk to non-racers or fans, or even people who have never seen it before, and it's just they are so blown away by the fact that we have lanes.
Yeah,
because it's water.
Right.
That's the lanes have. But when you get to watch the drone footage and actually see 2-3 boats going into a turn, and you can follow that arc around the buoys, it comes down to inches.
Yeah,
and it's going to be. I know you've pushed those boundaries and had those boundaries pushed against you. I know you and Bob in Cambridge have had your moments together fighting for lanes. So
yeah, that's the other thing is fighting for lanes, or what's a rooster tail when you fight for lanes. I always consider it whatever I'm putting at. So one boat length, but that's referee's discretion.
That drama. We tried doing fight for lanes for one of our little hydro sim 6-week leagues, and let's just say it didn't go very well. It was drama. It was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing, and
because when there's no element of this can actually hurt me, it's just then unfortunately a game, but you're just sending it in.
Yep. Yeah, that's one thing I've always explained to people because like really all I've ever been able to show my friends or coworkers is kind of the game when my buddies come by, and they're like, so like, do you drive like this in real life? And I'm like, no, I can't drive like this. On this, you just hold the triangle button and your boat flips back over and it turns back on. Real life, aside from, the risk of origin yourself, you're talking tens of thousands, 20s of thousands of dollars. And, sometimes boats blow over or roll and there's just no damage. Thing just goes out the next heat. But sometimes
they land it and try to keep racing.
Exactly.
Well, and that,
see a lot more of that on the other side of the pond, to be honest.
For sure. And the lane infraction thing too. These rooster tails are not soft and fluffy. They tear stuff up. I mean, they push your mirrors in. You can blow over backwards. You can turn and spin and tear your stuff up that way. So I mean, it's definitely one of the things you want to push the boundaries, but also a lot of times drivers know when to hold them, when to show them, and when to push it into that hole that's not there. You're hoping it's there. So you got to drive with your head, and I think a lot of our guys in the sport do these days.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that was one of the things that I don't want to say I wanted to get cut off last year, but I was, you kind of just assume it's going to happen at some point. And I wanted to know, like, what does that what does that feel like? And in Valley Field, I got cut off, and it quite literally feels like somebody shot a water cannon at your face.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's just no real other way to put
Try
it.
riding in a skiff.
You'd be surprised at how much water can come through this enclosed capsule.
Yep.
When you're in somebody's rooster tail.
Yep, and how quick it can lift a boat. Like,
yeah. Yep.
You're nice and stable, and next thing you know, you're looking at the sky.
Yep. And that first heat in Valley Field, Bob, after we got done the first lap, he's like, all right, go to the buoys. And I'm like, go over, and I'm only like 3 boat lengths behind Racine and on his outside. And I was like, dude, I don't really know if I want to jump through that tail. So I actually laid off, got behind his tail, got over, and then got back on the gas because I was just like, I don't want to be the idiot that goes and tries to jump through his tail in the first heat of the weekend and just blow it over on the front stretch. Like, Ronnie would have been like,
You're done. You're done on the shore.
That's the fun part about being in the skiff. You see that and you're like, yeah, I don't know about that. And then the driver just goes, wow.
Yeah.
And then you're just water cannon to the throat. You try to get your chin down, but it don't.
I don't know how guys back in the day drove on the inside, and some still do because that outside is so nice. I don't know how many times I put Mason. I'm like, we ain't even trying to pass this person, but I'm putting him in the water like, drown, boy, drown.
I requested from Billy because I had to wear my hydro driving suit in the skiff this weekend. Yep. I was like, Billy, we are lapping people. Lap them from like lane 4. I need to stay dry, and he's still like lane 2 pushing it and just catching that spray. I'm like, no,
really, dude.
I gotta get in the hydro, and I don't want it to fog. I did. It did do really good though. And I didn't fog it too much because you guys designed that cockpit to have crazy good ventilation.
Yeah. And it's just so much. There's so much more space
for sure
than the one last year.
I can see.
Yeah, it's not all scratched up and scuffed up.
That was on, like, obviously, you know, it was a much different feel in the boat with having more control over the attitude, and then the thing turning. You know, the responsiveness setting for the turn is very improved from last year. But I seriously, it was like seeing a different world out on the. I've never seen a race course that clearly with how messed up our lid was last year. I remember I got in it for the first time just sitting on the trailer, and I was like, holy cow.
I can see
everything in the pits right now. And, you know, the big thing that helped was with all those scratches that were on it last year is when I did get wet, that water didn't seem to want to get off of the windshield as fast as you'd like. But I kind of got wet coming up for the start or going into the first turn in both those heats. And although I did back out just being in the new boat and not needing to go drive through anything, you know, very quickly I was like, oh, I can see again. There we go. We're good.
That's good.
Because last year it was like,
took a while.
Right, where are my windshield wipers?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, definitely having a clean windshield helps, and that F25 ceramic we put on it by Haterade definitely made the water beat off a lot quicker. So you'll be able to drive through tails maybe 2 boat lengths back this year. You'll be all right.
So we don't got to chase the tails. We just
drive through them.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. That was one thing that I, you know, to some degree I felt like was smart as a new driver last year, was not driving through stuff like that, just not knowing how I was going to react to it, how the boat was. But at the end of the day, like that's something you have to do if you want to compete.
Yep.
At some point, you know, you're not going to lead them across the line every time. You're not going to lead them in the first term every time. So you do have to, you know, kind of just, you know,
I call it
back up a little bit and say we're doing it.
Yeah, minimize the damage. You already know you're back, but try to get through it. And, you know, other people might get wet in the next turn, so try to be there to capitalize.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I learned, especially watching my GoPro footage, because it was crazy how much better the GoPro footage was, like how much more you could see when I got wet, is like it wasn't as bad as it looked from my perspective. Right. Like if I would have kept going, it would have opened up. Yep. And you know, like I said, in this Saturday final, I got, not that anybody cut me off, but just when the rooster tails start moving and you're back, you know, I got pretty wet going into that first turn and backed out, just trying not to do any damage to the boat. But going back, watching the footage, I probably could have kept on it because the boat separated a little bit as they went through the turn. So that's just something that, you know, as a new driver, you know, there's always things to improve on. And, you know, I think for me, and I'd say probably for Austin, is just kind of doing it sometimes instead of, you know, just trying to take the conservative route and keep everything. Sometimes you do just have to push the limits a little bit. Yeah. But, you know, we're going to get there with time, get there as we get more comfortable with the boat. And, just again, the name of the game, especially in the, you know, the smaller classes, it's just getting better every time you go out there.
Yep, exactly. Constant improvement.
Absolutely.
So I think we can wrap up this week's episode. It's been a lot of fun here talking with you guys. Unfortunately, missing Bobby, missing our animated Angry Bird, but I think we did all right. And like I said before, the content we're about to come out with, we're going to try to do the best we can. We're going to put all kinds of reels, all those good things over Instagram, Facebook. If you're a racer listening to this and you have GoPro footage you want on Chasin Tails, be sure to find us, give it to us, send it to us. We're going to put everything out we can to promote this sport, promote APBA Inboard, Grand Prix America, and Hydroplane Racing League. And that's it for this episode. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe and follow on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram because we're about to bring you a new world of hydroplane racing here on Chasin Tails. See you next week.
Crank them up.
Thanks for watching.